I wanted to explain to Nathalie Rockhill,
Yes.
Nathalie, my objection to your, at first, you know. Yes. My objection was I thought it was between we, males, who were discussing this, and throwing in a girl seemed to me rather dramatic.
Woman, sir. Woman.
You're not even, what are you?
A woman.
What did I call you?
Girl.
Is that offensive?
Well, over 16 we
You know,
tend
you're
to
going to
be
make
women.
it so difficult for all of us to communicate. You think I was being offensive when I said girl?
No.
Oh, of course not. The reason was there are anti-homosexual groups that wish to come on. There are groups being formed who are against you, and I'm not against you. I'm against if you proselytize, and if I think you're if you're going to go before the city council and change certain laws, I want you to first tell me exactly what they mean and what they are. It's just as democratic for us to throw our weight on the other side. That is not undemocratic, is it? Is the word lesbian, may it be used?
Sure.
It's not a
yes.
pejorative.
Listen, in fact, let me talk to Mr. Kantrowitz. Mr. Kantrowitz, without quarreling with your objection to the use of the word fairy, I don't know what use a word. You just say gay or something, I suppose.
We say gay or homosexual. The thing is that the word fairy teaches a lot of people who are sitting out watching television now across the country that there's something wrong with them, that they can be laughed at. They're one of the only groups left in this country that it still seems to be safe to laugh at. And what we're here to say is that it's no longer safe or nice.
The word fairy is the most objectionable?
There are many objectionable terms.
Well, surely not fag and queen. Are they objectionable?
Yes, they are.
Of course they are.
They're used by your homosexuals all the time.
Some people have chosen...
Is the word queen objectionable?
I think to some
Isn't it
people
part of your
it may not be.
vocabulary?
Some
Is it
people
part
may
of your
consider themselves queens.
Is it not part of your vocabulary?
Queen has been used to describe perhaps a certain kind of homosexual.
It's in an editorial in your own magazine.
The point is that there are many kinds of
Village
homosexuals.
queens. It says village queens. Now, this is in your own. Merrill Miller, Allen Ginsberg are all homosexuals. They use the word fag in their literature. I have it here. Fag sounds rather harsh to me. I mean, I don't like the word fag. Fairy, gay. That's an adjective, actually, and you made it a noun.
Well, you talk about, for example, ballet being the fairies' baseball. Do you know that many of the people that you call fairies play professional baseball,
Indeed.
for example? And,
but it is true that ballet has a great following of homosexuals. You know that.
Most sports
Quite likely.
So the one scientific body of data that there is, namely the Kinsey study, points out that homosexuality is distributed about evenly amongst all religious groups, all racial groups, all professions and the like. There's many homosexual men on Wall Street or on the New York Jets as there are anywhere else.
And the world, Dr. Voeller, would be lesser for if we had never had the genius of the homosexuals that we have.
Anybody. We're all people.
I understand,
whether we're heterosexual
I
or
understand
straight,
that, but you must understand that we straight people get a little uptight at some of the expressions you use and some of your proselytizing and some of your language.
Well, we have problem with the idea of proselytizing, because people say, when we simply come out and say openly that we're gay, people say we're proselytizing. Yet you often talk of your wife and your children and so on, and as far as I'm concerned, you're flaunting your heterosexuality.
Not a wedding ring.
Isn't it a wedding ring?
Oh, but I would be. Actually, I don't wear it anymore.
You talk about your wife a lot on your programs.
Yeah.
Indeed.
We're simply asserting our identity.
Isn't our moral history the family unit? That's what I think. And I think we have a right to be a little uptight when you people go too far. An example of it is, all right, what is going too far? Someone told me you objected to me saying that the founder, does that mean there are many founders or one founder? The founder of the Gay Liberation Alliance is a writer for the New York Times. I strongly suspect the New York Times in the last month of strong homosexual propaganda. I do.
I think one of the things that all of us are struck by is that there's been an extraordinary lack of coverage of that tenth of the population which is homosexual. I think that the press has been extraordinarily remiss and talked little other than stereotype.
Not the New York Times.
And it's true over the last year, the Times...
They give 10% of the paper every day. I mean, they don't give that to the sports section.
But we're being told that when we are mentioned, somehow that's propaganda. When other things are mentioned, it's just truth or fact or reality or history. We are as much a part of history. We have always existed everywhere.
Yes.
And there's no reason why people should avoid truth. We are as much truth as any other kind of living.
I'm a real human being.
But we have a right to be offended.
Why?
I don't think so.
Well, when I read something written by a man, let's say Genet, an Esquire, that his favorite, he's a pederast, but his favorite form of intercourse is with a goat. I have a right to be offended.
I think perhaps the goat might have a right to do it.
There's a difference between
maybe he found
offended.
A consenting goat. That was probably what he did.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between your right to be offended and your right to impose all kinds of sanctions against people because of your taste.
Let's take
because it wasn't but a few years ago that all kinds of people in television and radio audiences and in movies wouldn't allow blacks to do certain sorts of things. It's only been the last 3 or so years, 4 years maybe, that one sees blacks on advertisements, and that's a long, long overdue process, and the same for gays. I feel offended when I constantly see heterosexuals running out in the sand dunes and meeting each other in great waves of hair and for a deodorant ad and the like. I want a couple of women or a gay couple of men out there occasionally too, just as blacks properly.
The agency's not ready for that, kid. They wouldn't sell any stuff.
They will be, though.
Well, there's a lot of homosexuals in commercials, only they're just not going fluty-fluty, you know.
There are a lot of homosexuals buying the products, too.
Yeah.
All of us to come out of the closets and to openly state who we are so that we can be real people. Many people who are sitting in this audience here, many people who are watching this show at home, may be gay people, and the people sitting next to them may not know that. There may be family or friends sitting next to them who may not know that, and who are therefore loving a false image of those people. What we're doing now, working to change the law so that we can be protected in jobs and in housing and have our civil rights along with every other minority group, is important so that we will be viewed as the people that we are, so that we don't have to spend our lives watching our pronouns saying, I went out with a person over the weekend. I went out with a man over the weekend, and I had a wonderful time with that man over the weekend. And I'm proud that I did that. I'm glad because I enjoyed myself. And I think other gay people, when they begin to say that, will show the rest of our community, the rest of our nation, that we exist as a substantially large group of people.
The only thing is, if you're not really telling people who live, like in the Middle West or some places that aren't as ahead as New York to come out, they'll lose their jobs. I mean, you can't ask people to make that kind of a sacrifice unless they're really missionary, are zealots, because you could really blow their lives wide apart.
We're working now to make conditions safe enough for them to come out. Those people who are lucky enough now to be able to are doing so.
It still happens in New York. People come out and do lose their jobs. And we're simply trying to let people know, enough of us know, that being gay really is good, and that being yourself is so important that it's worth standing up.